Hey guys, welcome back and thanks for tuning in to another knife review. This time we're talking about the brand new Spyderco Endela, a knife designed to split the difference between the Endura and the Delica, thus the name Endela, and which is what we have here. Pretty cool new knife, and I've got a lot of thoughts about it. Also, I've done a good amount of cutting and carrying with it in the week and a half or so that I've had it, but I want to jump on this knife review, maybe slightly prematurely, but it's a good one, and so I want to make sure and get it out there quickly. Kind of giving away my opinion on the knife, aren't I? Oh, well. I think you'll want to stick around, though, because we got lots to talk about as far as sort of Spyderco's philosophy on introducing new knives in a family, as well as comparing it to a lot of other knives sort of in the same size range, if not price range. And then yeah, well, I don't know, we'll just kind of share my opinion on the knife in general. But before we do all that, I'm going to ask a big favor. Please hit the subscribe button as well as the bell for notifications. YouTube will not tell you about my videos unless you do those two things. So if you enjoy knife reviews, if you enjoy general cool outdoor videos, gun reviews, and a bunch of other stuff like that, please do those two things. And if you're so inclined, you can always follow me on Facebook, Instagram. I do have a Patreon. I don't push too hard, but there's all that stuff as well. Let's get into this review, dudes. So, the Endela, kind of like a knife nobody asked for in a way, right? Because the Delica, there's nothing wrong with it at all. The Endura, nothing wrong with it at all. But they're giving us sort of a new knife in the line. Even so, as soon as I got it, I was like, oh, geez, I didn't know I wanted this knife. That's my genuine opinion on it right there. I've got two Delicas. I love them. I've only got the one Endura. It's a little big for my taste, but I kind of like having it anyway. And when I got a hold of this, ordered it from Drop, formerly known as Mass Drop. No sponsorship there whatsoever, but just wanted to point that out. When I got it in hand, I was like, well, that's my new knife, man. I like the size. I like the feel of it. I like the weight of it. It's everything I like about the Delica with just a little more reach and a little more to hold on to. But fantastic, just as good in every other way. If there's one thing I don't like about it, it's the fact that it's only in black right now. I know they will roll out the other colors eventually. They'll have blues and they'll have probably purples, and hopefully they'll make a Zome version of it at some point. And only the one steel right now, VG10. You know, so they introduced it in sort of the standard thing. They've also got a full serrated version of it out there. So if that's your thing, you can get that. But again, just the black and VG10 for now. But I predict in 2020, they'll introduce new versions of it, new colors. And we'll see it as a pretty much a staple in Spyderco's lineup going forward. That's my prediction. But yeah, if you want to kind of get a sense of how it compares to the other two, you can sort of see the lines and how they change and how they alter. And one of the cool things, getting into sort of Spyderco's philosophy on sort of knife families, one of the cool things they do when they introduce sort of a new knife in a sort of range of knives is that they don't simply scale one up or scale one down to make the new knife. Here's an example. Benchmade does exactly that. Now, these are two different blade types, but there's the Griptilian and the mini Griptilian, and the handles are exactly the same contour-wise. It's just that they've been scaled up and down. Now, the screw placement changes, the pivot size is a little different because, that's just one of those things. But otherwise, they are literally just scaled up or scaled down versions of each other. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of worth noting. Spyderco's attitude, their philosophy, is instead to make it feel like it's a sibling to the other knives while reshaping it completely. So this blade is not a scaled up version of that, nor is it a scaled down version of that. It's its own thing, vector-wise, but it definitely feels like it's related. You know what I'm saying? If we look at the Para 3, let's get these off the table just for a second so we've got a clean stage. So if we look at the Para 3 and compare that to, the Para 2 and compare that to the Para 3, same deal. Okay, we've got, again, they feel like they're part of the same family, but they're not a scaled up or scaled down version of each other. All right, this is actually a redesigned knife to work in a smaller package. So They gave you the contours in the right places and then sort of shortened it and reshaped it elsewhere. Same goes with the blade, kind of shortened it and reshaped it to make it work properly. So it's a truly functional, smaller version of this without being just a simply scaled down version of it. To me, that represents a lot more care, a lot more thought for the line and for the knife that they're introducing, or that they're, that they're reshaping or whatever. And so I really appreciate Spyderco for that reason. If we go one more set, and I only have a couple from this line, but here is the Tenacious and the Persistence, I believe that's Persistence. Yeah, and same exact thing. And there's a couple other knives in this line as well. I'm not gonna bring those out because I don't have them handy. But there's, you can see a strong familial resemblance as far as the shape, as far as how everything comes together. But they're not the same. They're not simply a scaled up or scaled down version of each other. I really, really appreciate that about Spyderco's attitude to expanding lines in their I guess lineup. But that's the case with the Endela. It's sized really well, so it fits the hand nicely. It's got all that same great bidirectional texturing, all the great finishing and molding and so forth. Made in Seki City, Japan, I believe is there on the blade. VG10, if I didn't already say it, I believe I did. And of course the great thumb hole and ramp and beautiful blade shape. And it's got sort of that traditional and very recognizable sort of Delica or Endura blade shape, where the tip sort of drops down, giving you a little extra strength, and the blade itself sweeps up. This one looks like it's almost imitating a hawkbill because that drop is a little more dramatic than on the Delica. I don't mind that. I think it's cool actually, and it definitely inspires a little bit of confidence in that tip. So yeah, generally speaking, I like it. And I can't wait for them to introduce it in other steels and other colors, and I will buy it at least one more time. I'm pretty sure about that. Did pay full price for this if I didn't already say that. So yeah, loving it so far. Should we compare it to a handful of other knives? Actually, before we do that, let's talk about some of the use that I've put it through. Been daily carrying it since I got it, just keeping it in pocket. You can see a little bit of wear on that pocket clip. These Delica / Endura / Endela pocket clips they do wear down pretty quickly, getting scratched and scuffed and chipped. I don't know that I don't particularly wish that they were a different coating. I just wish more of them were stainless steel like that, kind of bright and uncoated. I actually prefer that, generally speaking, and I might strip this one. I did that to my brown one. I've shown you that in the past. So that's about it. But anyway, carried it a lot in the short time that I've had it. And what have I cut with it? A good amount of cardboard, basically all the stuff. I did do some yard work this past weekend, trimmed a whole bunch of this. This is some of that weed barrier stuff, ground cloth. Cut a bunch of this up, which seems to be fairly abrasive on the knife. I don't know if there's fiberglass in here or what, but it actually feels like it's pretty abrasive on that edge. Also did a little bit of this stuff, some of that plastic curbing that you use for, gardening and landscaping and whatnot. Did a little bit of that work this past weekend and had the Endela handy, so I used that for all this work. And again, good performance. That VG10 edge is legendary, man. It gets really nice and sharp, and it feels kind of razor sharp for quite a while. So love VG10 for that reason. As far as resharpening it and how long that edge lasts, you will need to resharpen it if you use it regularly, maybe even every day, depending on how much you use it. But I would say you probably, on average, you'll be resharpening this, I don't know, with average use from a guy like me, probably once a week, every couple of weeks, something like that. If you want a really nice keen edge on it. If you're happy with, a functional edge, you can wait a couple of months. But I try to keep things as sharp as I can get them. And so I'll resharpen my knives fairly regularly, keep them clean and get the gum off of them and the tape off of them and all that stuff. So yeah, that's sort of the work that I've done with this in the short time I've had it. Now let's compare it to just a few other knives in its sort of same size range. So we have, let's get the Para 2 out there, which I think is the closest relative from Spyderco. And we would probably also at the same time lay down the Tenacious. So they're really kind of in the same class as far as carryability and cutting and all that stuff. This one in the 70, what was it, 70 or $80 price range. Bring it back up, $80, 80 bucks for this. This guy, for a standard version of it, I think is getting up to 135 or 140. I can't remember exactly, but something like that. Tenacious, I think it's sub 50 still, maybe sub 40, depending on where you pick it up, what type you buy. How about the steel wheel Tasso? We reviewed that very recently, still got it on the table. That's an M390, a good bit more money. Here is the, once again, the Benchmade full-size Griptilian, that one at 20 CV, a bit more money than the standard one, once again. And let's see, I've got the Rat Model 2 on the table, so we might as well line that one up as well. A bit bigger, a bit cheaper, I think, than a lot of the other ones here on the table. AUS 8 steel, last I checked, and still pretty affordable. But as far as weight on the Endela, I can pull out the scale for you and show you that. We can also get into the sort of size and all that stuff, which I'll just bring it up. But as far as the weight, that is 3.1 ounces. Comparing that to the Delica, 2.3 ounces, and then the Endura 3.8. So closer, well, kind of in the middle, I guess, between the two, but a little closer to the Endura as far as size and weight. And really, as far as looks as well, it really feels like it's just barely under the Endura. You know, it's just a slightly smaller version of the Endura. That's kind of what it feels like to me. So it almost feels more related to the Endura than it does to the Delica. That's kind of my opinion. As far as the other specs on it, as far as measurements and whatnot, comes in at blade length of 3.41, overall length of 8.1, cutting edge of about 3, and yeah, handle length 4.7, handle thickness 0.42. And that's kind of the critical stuff, I guess. As far as, there is a difference in blade thickness. I'm gonna try to show you that. You can see it's a little bit thicker than the Delica. And then as far as how it compares to the standard Endura, looks like the same. Looks like it's the same exact width. So once again, more closely related to the Endura than to the Delica as far as I see it. But one way or another, you know, Spyderco's marketing this as the knife that perfectly splits the difference between these two knives. In my opinion, well, I guess they're right. I guess they're right, yeah. I guess I'm gonna say they're right. And as I said before, I'm gonna buy it again when it comes out in other colors. I like it. I don't know that it's not gonna replace my Delicas. I love those too. The Endura has always kind of been like, I've had one Endura, so I'm not gonna buy more of those. But I'll definitely buy some more of these. They're cool. That's my review of the new Spyderco Endela, guys. I hope that was helpful to you. I'm Late Boy Scout. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.